Ok.
Și camera merge.
Ok. Bună ziua, doamnelor și domnilor! Urmează să avem un interviu cu un personaj important în România și nu numai. Domnul Sven Irmer este directorul pentru România și Moldova a Fundației Konrad Adenauer. Vom avea o discuție legată de situația migrației, în special cea provocată de români în vestul Europei, dar și despre chestiuni importante precum situația Republicii Moldova și nu numai. O să continuăm interviul în engleză, în speranța că marea majoritate a celor care ne urmăresc pe calea europeană cunosc și înțeleg această limbă. So, thank you very much, Mr. Irmer, for accepting the interview with us.
My pleasure.
You are the director of a very important foundation, Konrad Adenauer, one of the most active at the European level, of course, including Romania and Moldavia. Recently, Moldavia, for example, had a very important success in a period of disappointing results after the Eastern Partnership. Which is the most important advantage of Moldavia keeping on this track, on the European path?
I think what happened in Vilnius, you mentioned, is very important because of showing that what the government did the last nearly 4 years, 5 years, came to an end at a certain point, that there's a result at the end of the work of the politician, of the government, of the pro-European coalition. This is very important for the people there. It shows that things are improving and that there's not only talk. And this is very important, especially for Moldova, who's in a very complicated situation. I don't have to mention the Transnistrian conflict, the pressure that is from Russia toward them. So they made a clear decision pro-Europe, and I think this is liked by the citizens.
Do you think that the situation is still risky? I mean, this path of Moldavia moving towards the European Union, is it an irreversible process? Which are the main dangers for
I hope that
it's
a process that it's just at a starting point now with Vilnius. Now we're talking only not before Vilnius, now we talk only after Vilnius. And I think talking after Vilnius gives the country a lot of opportunities. It is about bettering the economy, bettering education, bettering infrastructure. But it's also quite clear that the work of the government only started. And that the expectations of the citizens are really high towards the politics. But I think now we have to, or the government have to handle the expectation, to manage the expectation, because the pressure is really high. The people, it's quite normal to see better circumstances, but we don't have to forget what the actual government found in 2009 when they took over. The conditions were really bad. The communists did a lot of damages. So there's still the Transnistrian conflict, which costs the country a lot of money, a lot of manpower. So it will be quite interesting what will happen the next year, and I'm pretty sure that the visa regime will be another success story for Moldova.
Well, the economic and peace projects that the European Union promotes, it's, at least at the political level, very well and very profound promoted. But the citizens, at least in this part of Europe, I'm not talking about Moldavia now, but it's also the Romanian case. The citizens, the ordinary citizens, they think that the main advantage of joining EU, for example, it's actually the liberty of movement, which now the Western countries' perception is from this side that it might be an abuse, and there are some worries about it. We know that in Moldavia, for example, almost a quarter of the population already is inside the European Union working or doing something else. Also, we know from some international reports that in Romania we have, after joining the EU, about 3, maybe even 4 million people moving towards the western part of the Europe, or maybe in the northern part of the Europe. So which is the situation now from this point of view?
I think it's quite clear when we're talking about the European Union, that means Romania, but also in fact on a very important part also Bulgaria. And this is also the discussion we have when we talk about in Germany. It's mostly mixed Bulgarians and Romanians escaping from both countries to find better living circumstances in Germany or in Spain, Italy, France, Great Britain. Recently we had the very interesting point of view from the British Prime Minister who said he will send them back or will not let them in, which is totally against the European law. And from my point of view, it's not really solving the problem to send people back or don't let them in. We really fight it the last 60, 50 years for free Europe and free transportation, but also free traveling of the people. And next year we will see the next step, that the people, if they like to work in Germany, they are free to come, and if they have work, and they can work in Germany and other countries in the European Union. So I think that this discussion is a step back in time. We have to deal with the problems, and we have to explain to people what efforts are, for example, here done in Romania, and that is not only about the poor people who escape from countries, it's also the well-educated people, and this brings another problems. Coming to your second part of your question regarding Moldova. Of course, some Moldovan people escaped from or went to Germany, but most of the people went to Russia and work in Russia and not in the European Union. This is a matter of fact, and we have to talk about this as well, and it causes a lot of problems, but there we see the same problem like in Romania. The well-educated, they leave. Mothers leave their babies behind, and they only have contact via Skype. This is a shocking situation, and but the countries itself has to do something against. Also, there must be some understanding. Also in Germany, there must be a functional dialogue, and there must be solutions. Everyone sees the problem, that there are people coming we haven't seen before, for example, in Germany and other countries in Europe. But we have to talk about solutions, what has to be done here, and we have to explain maybe the people here that Germany is not the country where things are coming for free or easily, that there is a rule of law, that find a job, you need to be good educated, highly educated, and that the labor market in Germany is also in a good situation in the moment, but there will be other people from around Europe who will look for good jobs in Germany. This has also started, especially people coming from Spain, Italy, to find a new way in Germany. So it's a strange situation at the moment, but as good Europeans we have to talk as friends and on the same level about this problem.
Well, the problem seems to be that the Western politicians are complaining about the millions of migrants that are coming in their countries, stealing the jobs, stealing from the pockets of the citizens. And on the other hand, the Romanian authorities, for example, sometimes are complaining about the brain drain and the fact that the British and the Germans and the French are coming and are picking only doctors and physicians and engineers, IT specialists. Which seems to be the proper approach in this fact?
One of the hardest questions. If I could answer them perfectly, I think everyone in Germany or in Europe would be happy. But it's normal that companies are looking for the best people all around Europe or all around the globe for their companies to have better working conditions, to have more profit, which is something legal, something good, because you care about the next generation and about improvement in your company. So it's hard. I think the key factor is education in every country. Key education and find investors for your country. And every country has to care about this very important topic. When we look at the education rate for minorities, especially in Romania, I think this is a thing we have really to talk about as friends. There are EU funds. The absorption rate of EU funds in Romania is one of the horrible story.
Actually, it's the poorest rate.
Yes, it's the poorest rate, and we don't have really good explanations, or I didn't get good explanations since I'm here. Why the absorption rate is not better. It's not about that the people cannot do it. But there must be other reasons, and I'm still looking for these reasons, and this not called funds are missing here. And it's for the minorities, but it's not only for minorities, it's for the whole country. We should not only focus on minorities, because the education thing is for the whole country. Doesn't mean minorities, it's for everyone here. And it's a guarantee for a better future education. And this gives you all, the next step will be finding investors from abroad, also do infrastructure. But I think, again, the key factor is education for minorities, for everyone, and to find a proper system to go for the funds that they're there in Europe.
Well, according to the targets fixed by the European Strategy 2020, we are still far away, at least in the education area, from many indicators. So we cannot expect to some spectacular things in the near future, talking about education. But talking about the liberty of movement, some citizens could say that it's a consequence of the liberty of thinking and the liberty of options, because as an European citizen living in Romania, if you are still waiting for prosperity and a better level of living in this country, and you see that maybe it's not happening what you would like to be happened, you decide to talk with another administration.